Hi everyone. I've recorded this short video as a revision guide for the Project 1 final draft. I try to keep it pretty short, but if you have any questions about your draft or about revising your draft, please let me know. Feel free to email me, or we can also meet on Teams. Happy to chat about your project, but I just wanted to go over a couple things that I think were issues maybe across the entire class, so I hope this will be helpful. Feel free to come back to this as needed, but also, again, to follow up with me if you have any questions. First thing I wanted to talk about is the organization of the memo, and in terms of what readers and myself as your instructor would expect from your organization. First of all, we want to make sure that your document is formatted as a memo. So we've got those headers at the very top of the memo: to, from, subject, and date. Again, feel free to use one of the memo templates in Microsoft Word. You might have to modify it just a little bit, but a lot of them are kind of ready to go. But your document should certainly have these headers at the very top of the document, very top of the memo. Next, your memo should have a statement of purpose that explains the purpose of the memo. Now, remember your purpose. Your purpose is to summarize an article about Michigan's population decline. So the idea that you're summarizing something should be a part of the statement of purpose. That should be included. The statement of purpose only needs to be one sentence long, can be very short. Next, your memo should have an executive summary. The executive summary is like a one paragraph long summary of the entire memo. It's written for readers who are too busy to read the whole memo. So, but you still have to hit all the highlights of your memo. So remember, you're writing about a problem, so you're still going to have to mention the key indicators of the problem, the causes, the effects, possible solutions, and you should also mention in the executive summary that you are summarizing a text. So you should include the title of the text that you're summarizing, the author, the person who wrote it, and it would probably be also good to indicate the year of publication, 2023. So don't let the summary here confuse you. Yes, you're writing a memo summarizing a source, but no matter what kind of memo you were writing, you would have an executive summary written for readers who are too busy to read the entire memo. And then your memo is going to have the body. This would be the largest part of the memo. This should probably be broken down into sections, and this is where you elaborate on your purpose. In this case, you're summarizing an article, and so that's the body. Again, this is the largest part of your memo. Remember the purpose of your memo in this particular project. You're summarizing an article about a problem. So let's think about that. Whenever you describe a problem, you're probably going to go through these 4 steps, no matter what kind of problem you're describing, whether it's a technical issue or whether it's a social issue, an economic issue like population decline. The first thing you're probably going to want to do is you're going to want to provide the key indicators. How do we know this is a problem? What are the facts or statistics that tell us that this is a problem? Next, you probably want to go through the causes of the problem, if they're known. Next, the effects of the problem. What are the impacts? And then you probably want to wrap up by summarizing and describing the possible solutions. Now, you're lucky with this assignment because the writer of the article that we're summarizing, Janelle James, basically goes through these 4 steps in her article. She describes the problem, gives us some facts and figures that demonstrate the severity of the problem, and then she moves on to describing the causes of the problem, the effects of the problem, and then she wraps up with possible solutions. So even if you just mirror James's organization in her article, you can still move through these steps. And like I said, you would probably do this when describing any sort of problem, whether or not you are summarizing a text. But we get lucky in this instance because even if we just follow James's organization, we're still going to go through these 4 sections. So these are probably going to be 4 subsections of the body of your memo. You probably are also going to very briefly summarize these things in your executive summary. And I would encourage you to use subheadings to mark these different sections. You don't have to call them these 4 things. Other people, the students' papers that I read, people go through these 4, but they have different ways of talking about them, which is absolutely fine. But as a reader, when you're describing a problem, I would expect you to touch on all of these items. Next, as you revise your memo, I want you to think about and remember that you are writing a summary. You're writing a summary of another person's text, and your reader needs to know that, and they need to be reminded of that periodically through the text. The easiest way to remind readers that you are summarizing a text is to insert what we call author signposts. These are phrases that use the name of the writer or a pronoun like the author, and signal verbs, action words that describe the intentions of the writer. So you see my first is James describes, there's an author signpost, and then the signal verb describes. In the second example, we use the pronoun the author with the verb explains. Now, these signposts only make sense to the reader if you've introduced the source early in the memo, early in the text. Another way that we can remind readers that we are summarizing and help readers imagine the organization of the original text, which they probably have not read, are using what we call organizational signposts. And these are just little chunks of language. Usually they come at the beginning of a sentence that helps us imagine the organization of the original text. In the beginning of the article, next we have an author signpost, James. The signal verb concludes. See here how this signal verb concludes also functions as an organizational signpost, gives us some sense of what comes at the end of the article we're summarizing. So again, you don't have to put these on every single sentence. That would probably be monotonous. But we need to do it often enough so that the reader doesn't forget that you are summarizing another text. Then formatting and editing. Remember that we practiced formatting documents for accessibility just a couple weeks ago. So if your document has headings, make sure you format those using the Format Style toolbar on the home menu. And also, as you're editing your document, make sure that you use Word's editor utility. And make sure you use the setting Professional Writing. And it will give you a little score on how you're doing and will make suggestions about things to change. Wording suggestions, editing suggestions, spelling errors, grammar mistakes. The Word editor has gotten very good over the past couple years, and I rely on it a lot when I'm writing, and I would encourage you to do the same. Okay? So those are the big issues I'd like you to focus on. Again, take a look at the comments that I left in your draft. If you have any questions at all, let me know. You can either send me an email or we can talk on Teams. And that's it. Good luck.